going to ask if anybody wants to speak to any of the particular pieces of communication that are in the package. Student Trustee Soar.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Student Trustee Reyna and I would like to point trustees to Folio 72, which is a letter from the York Region District School Board to the Minister of Education, requesting that the Education Act be amended to allow student trustees the ability to move and second motions at board and committee meetings. We thank the WRDSB and the other boards across Ontario who have already passed similar motions for acknowledging the importance of the student trustee position and making an effort to help further their abilities. Today, Student Trustee Reyna and I would like to suggest that a letter be written in support of WRDSB's letter requesting the same amendment. We would like to take a moment to highlight the importance of writing such a letter. We note that a motion like this will not and is not meant to change our voting rights. Our focus, on the other hand, is on the message being sent to the WRDSB student body and students all over Ontario. Allowing student trustees the ability to move and second motions sends students a message that their student trustees are capable of speaking about them in the same way trustees are capable of speaking about their constituents. This motion sends the message that we can bring forward the student body's voice to the board table on our own without the need for a buffer. We'd like to note that this is a common request amongst student trustees all across the province, hence the similar letters that have been motioned in boards throughout Ontario, including the Grand Erie District School Board and the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. On top of that, I speak with many student trustees all across the province, and I can confidently say that this is an item on almost every student trustee's agenda. So I urge you to lead by example and set the path for the other school boards to follow. Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass it to Student Trustee Reyna.
Go ahead, Student Trustee Reyna.
Thank you, Kenzy. Through you, Chair, I would like to speak more on the topic of student trustee governance. A student trustee's main duty is to advocate on behalf of the students in their board and to be a liaison between students and board personnel. Currently, Section 55(4) of the Education Act prohibits student trustees to move or second a motion. As we modernize society and learn how vital student voice is, it is important that elected youth have the opportunity to properly advocate for change in benefit of their constituents. Furthermore, allowing student trustee governance standardizes the rights of student trustees across the province. Ontario sees huge discrepancies in student trustee rights as some boards allow their student trustees to make motions, others allow suggestions through other adult trustees, and some prohibit it completely. The Student Trustee Governance Act makes this a uniform across Ontario. With WRDSB's help, we can show students in Ontario that we value their voice. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you. I'm looking to our student trustee mentors who alerted me to the fact that that they wanted to move this. So Trustee Weston, I'll take you as the mover and Vice Chair Woodcock as the seconder. So the motion is now on the floor that that we write a letter in support of the letter written by the York Region Board. And would anyone like to speak to that? Trustee Ramsey would like to speak to that, and Trustee Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In principle, I would not be opposed to the motion, but I just need a clarification from either Trustee Sora or Trustee Reyna. There's reference to other boards allowing the student trustees to move motions, like basically without a buffer. Are you able to elaborate on that a little bit, please? I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Could either of you respond to that? Either of the student trustees or I see Vice Chair Woodcock has her hand up. Perhaps she has some insight on that question.
I don't have any research, and I'm not being conflicting with what the student trustee has mentioned, but I don't believe that there really are any boards in Ontario that do allow, let me put it this way. I think that some boards allow student trustees to read the motion, but they don't say moved by trustees. So I think it's a little clarification of words. So the student trustees might read the motion, but they don't say it's moved by. That's the only thing I can offer without looking further into it.
Okay, student trustee
Trustee
Sora.
Ramsey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Trustee Woodcock. I just pulled up a motion that was put forward at the Toronto Catholic District School Board, and it was like this motion for student trustee governance by a student trustee. And the idea that I think student trustee Reina is getting at is that the motion itself was written by this student trustee, and it says that the motion is from his name. And so I think that may be what she's speaking to, and that there are some boards where the student trustee is the one that's able to fully write out the motion, and it's written that they're the one that wrote the motion. But again, an adult trustee would be the one that would have to move that, and then it would be voted on.
Okay. Trustee Ramsey, does that provide the clarification you were seeking? Thank you. Trustee Watson, did you have a different question?
I don't have a question. So the motion is on the table, right?
Right, to write a letter of
So I
support
can
for the
speak,
letter
I
that's
can
in the
speak to the
package.
motion. So I don't have a problem if a student trustee wants to write a motion and somebody else wants to present it on their behalf. I do appreciate the student's perspective and student voice, whether it's a student senate or whether it's students from elementary. Yes, we do want to hear their voice, but I do really struggle with the fact that from a political perspective, student trustees are not elected. And so student trustees are here for maybe one or rarely it happens, but maybe 2 terms. And so I really, in all good conscience, I don't think that, throwing students into a political fray is really something that I would like to see students participate in. And I have a feeling that it could be very contentious. And so I won't be supporting the motion, but it's not because I don't think student voice is very important or that they could write their own motions and get someone to present them. But I do think that when it comes to the political piece, it's not fair to throw a student trustee into the political arena.
Okay. Any other points of debate or questions? Trustee Weston.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification that student trustees are elected by their peers, currently through Student Senate. So they are elected by the student body, the representatives of the student body, currently Student Senate. And like any other motion we're debating right now, the students have come up with the idea. They have spoken to it articulately and with research, and I appreciate that, and they've done an amazing job. And we're discussing it, what the difference, what this letter would do, or what this amendment to the Education Act would do, was simply allow them to say, I move this motion, and their name would be attached to it. But they are already doing all the work behind the scenes for example, this motion. So I will be supporting it. I've moved it, and thank you.
Trustee Ramsey, for a second time, if nobody wants to speak for the first time? No. For a second time, Trustee Ramsey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. Just listening to Trustee Watson's question is what's prompting this follow-up question, and it has to do with what the implications would be. I'm not sure who could answer this. What the implications would be if if the ministry did change the rules to allow them to bring motions. and then a motion comes where it's pertaining to operational matters and other areas where in principle their vote doesn't count. I'm just wondering what the implications around that would be. And I'm not sure if we have enough information like to be making a decision just on Trustee Watson's points, the concerns that she raised. Just wonder if someone from staff or one of the Trustee Woodcock, maybe through you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair Woodcock, could you provide an answer on that?
I don't have a complete answer, but you've raised a very interesting question. Like how could they, if they did change the legislation so student trustees could bring the motion forward and yet their vote doesn't count, that doesn't make sense. I would only offer that if indeed the government did change the legislation such that student trustees could actually bring forward motions, that there would have to be some sort of additional language to address that issue. Like you've raised a good point, Trustee Ramsey, but for the purposes of this discussion and this motion, I don't know that we can get into those details until we actually, we're just advocating that the government look at this and listen to student voice by sending this letter of support for these motions. So, but it's a good question. What are the details what's the impact of doing this? And yeah, I think we should think about that. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I could move as a procedural motion to postpone consideration of this motion to a future meeting for the perhaps a new board to deal with. I'm just wondering if there's a second, and I'll speak briefly to it.
It's in order to move that, and I believe Trustee Watson is seconding that. So all those in favor of postponing a vote on this motion? Trustee Ramsey, I assume you're in favor. And opposed to postponing the vote? We will continue discussion. And I had Trustee Meisner on the speakers list.
Thank you. I just want to add my support to the student trustees and the motion that they have suggested this evening. I think what I'm hearing from students across the province, student trustees in particular, is that they're feeling like their role is effectively tokenistic, that they don't have a sort of, they bring forward student voice, but they're limited in how they can do that. And they don't feel that they have a very concrete role in the board. So I feel very strongly that this, in supporting the motion, because this is supporting student voice, and this is effectively bringing some real weight to the work that student trustees already do. So I am wholeheartedly in favor of the motion and want to thank both the student trustees for bringing this, for suggesting this evening.
Okay. So there are no other people on the speakers list, and the motion to postpone has failed. So we'll move to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And abstentions? Trustee Wedham, were you opposed? I just want to clarify.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be opposed for them.
Okay, thank you. Under board reports, there is one item which is a generative discussion. On folio 53, there's a very brief discussion guide. A question has been posed to us by OPSPA, our provincial association. The ministry noting that the regulation that allows for electronic meetings to be held by school boards is set to expire on November 15th, 2022. The ministry is asking OPSPA to gather feedback on whether we would like that that right to continue. I want to acknowledge that we had intended to be in person last week and again tonight, but the technology did not work when tested. I'm definitely hoping that that we will be in person for the October 17th meeting. That is a separate question from the regulatory question. So the ministry wants to know whether the right should be extended. And I'm going to open the floor to trustees and student trustees who wish to weigh in on the matter and what kind of feedback we would like to give to OPSPA to pass on to the ministry. Student trustee Soar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I would just like to echo the importance of having a virtual option for board and committee meetings, not just in cases of emergency, but also just as a regular option. It not only is considerate of the feelings, the everlasting feelings that people still do have regarding the pandemic and COVID safety, but it also is essential for accessibility. So I would hope that this is considered and the regulation is extended. Thank you.
I think most people watching know Associate Director Lila Reed is retiring at the end of the month, which is Friday, surprisingly. I asked at Agenda Development that we schedule a formal opportunity to reflect on the impact that she has had on the WRDSB over, I believe, 27 years, culminating in her closing act as Associate Director over the past 3 years. I'm going to make some remarks. Director Chenica, I believe, wants to say something as well, but I'll wrap up the trustee remarks. Do either of the student trustees want to go before me or no? Student trustee Soar, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chair. Through you, I did just want to extend my thanks to Lila. She has been wonderful to work with this past year and very supportive of the student trustees and the work that we do. And I just want to wish you the best of luck in your retirement. Thank you.